So, yeah, good evening, and thank you so much for coming to Bmore Beautiful's Greening 101 workshop. I'm your host, Morgan Thapa, and since we have so many amazing speakers lined up for you tonight, we'll jump right into things. So I organized this workshop to highlight some of the incredible work being done around greening in Baltimore. We have so many organizations working together to support green resiliency infrastructure in our city. Our beloved gardens, urban farms, parks, and forests are created, maintained, and preserved by a variety of organizations working from the grassroots to the city government with a common goal of building a greener and more sustainable city. Though we're only able to cover so much in an hour and a half's time, I hope that the incredible work you hear about tonight will inspire you to get involved in this movement towards collaboratively creating a greener Baltimore. So a little bit of background about the organization that I work with. Bmore Beautiful is a city-led peer-to-peer beautification program. The goal of our program is not to only change behaviors and attitudes towards the beautification of the city, but to also encourage residents, businesses, and organizations to become directly involved in activities and projects that will keep their neighborhoods clean and green. So a few housekeeping things before I introduce our first speaker. This meeting, like I said, is being recorded. It will be sent out to you all. Please keep yourself on mute while speakers are giving their presentations. And we will have a question and answer session at the end of the event. But if you have questions in the meantime, feel free to put them in the chat and I will take note of those. So first up, we'll hear from my amazing coworker, Brandy Welsh, who is a community liaison officer from Bmore Beautiful. And she's going to teach us about the city's Care a Lot program. So feel free to take it away, Brandy.
Okay, there we go. Everybody can see my screen?
Yep.
We're good to go. Okay, now let me start my timer because I don't want to be cheated out of my time. So let's just jump right into it. So what is Care a Lot? Care a Lot is designed to support community-based organizations that have the capacity to mow and maintain vacant lots during the grow season. Grow season for us is April through October. And you must be a registered 501c3 or work or have a fiscal sponsor with that 501c3 nonprofit designation. This program is not for small businesses. And I want to go ahead and let you know early that our application for Care a Lot is currently open and closes March 1st. So if you are in person, I would say run, not walk, but you're not. So that means just head on over to our website, quick, fast, and a hurry, and get in on the fun. So our expectation is at minimum, the lots should be mowed. And so we suggest that that is done every 3 weeks. And we're talking about mayor, city council lots or private lots. And so we'll talk a little bit later about it's another extra step to handle private lots, but at minimum, we have an expectation that you mow. So listen, a wise man once said, you don't go as far as your dream, but you do go as far as your team. Care a Lot, you're gonna need a team. So Care a Lot is busy. The growth season in Baltimore City could be wild. And some have done it on their own, but it's best if you got 2 to 3 hardcore riders to be able to do this journey with you because it'll help you stay on top of the mowing, on top of the maintenance. Hey, what's key for us is taking pictures. I'm gonna talk about why that's important. You're gonna see in just a minute. But we have preferred, but I might change that to required. Before and after pictures are a must or submitted a completed maintenance log. That's huge for us. Submit a completed invoice. Now we're gonna have a template just for you, but I know that you guys are talented. So, but we don't want you changing our template and then resending it back to us. Use the one that we give you, okay? Because we like it and we worked hard on it. It's user-friendly, it's easy. And so if you don't want to delay the invoice process, just use what we gave you. Here are our requirements. We are so excited because we went online. We did an electronic version of our application. So, hey, I see Katie clapping. Hey, that makes it so much easier. But for my pen and paper folks, I got you. We've got a downloadable copy, but try it online. I promise it's really easy. We will be requesting that you submit a W-9, a completed W-9, as well as your IRS 501c3 determination letter. Those documents are still required if you're using a fiscal sponsor. We're going to need those from them. We will have you to be signing waivers and all of that good stuff, release of liability, COVID waivers, assumption of risk, all the fun stuff you'll be signing. And if this applies to you, if you are using a fiscal sponsor, then we do need a letter of support because we want to know that they know what you signed them up for. And then if you want to care for private property lots, then let's talk about the self-abatement process. We're going to need you to follow that process for each lot that's privately owned. And so that means writing a letter. We suggest it be sent certified mail. Make sure within the letter it contains that this is a nuisance. If you called it into 311, throw all that stuff in there. But if you're unsure as to how to proceed with that, we've got your back. We've got a sample that we can kind of help you that you can use as a guide. Definitely include the full property address, and you have to give them 30 days to respond. Typically, our experience is that they don't, but you still have to give them that time. Now, here's the deal with private lots. You're only cutting the grass, and you're only cleaning up. I know, no, there'll be no flower beds on those lots. There'll be no flower pots. We can't build no peace gardens. We're just cutting, and we're just cleaning it up. That's it. We know homeowners are fickle. They'll come back and say, hey, this is not what I signed up for. So that's just it. For those private lots, it's pretty much we're just mowing and we're keeping it clean. And so if you're saying, hey, how do I find out who's the property owner? Use the State Department of Assessments and Taxation's website, SDAT. That will give you the most up-to-date information. We can always help you with that if you need it. And so I know I've been saying a lot about lots, but what I really should be saying is parcels. And so because within a lot, there are a lot, this is double talking. There are many parcels on one lot. So check out the first picture. It could be as small as that. That could be one or two. And then to the other pictures could be as big. That could be several parcels. So when we say that our care lot grant that I probably didn't cover, you can earn up to $6,300 plus to care for up to 25 lots, but really parcels. And so that's where that comes in. And for each maintenance visit, it's $23. But we'll get into all of that once you get on board. When we say lot selection, we're talking about post-demo lots, mayor city council lot. We just chatted about private lots, pocket parks. You see it, urban farms, gardens. What we're not talking about median strips. I know, they're out of control. We're not talking about wooded areas. That's too much for us to fight off. And we're not talking about vacant homes with unkept front or back lawns. I know we should be talking about that, but this program's not for that. And so again, if I didn't say it the first time, the application is open and it closes March 1st. So you're running out of time. Our invoice process, excuse me, grant funds are dispersed using an invoice model. Each lot, again, is worth $23 per maintenance visit, or should I say each parcel. When we say maintenance visit, here's what we're talking about: mowing, weeding, litter removal, or it could just be litter removal, or it could be mowing only, or edging, weeding, trimming. Now here we go. Here's the before and after pictures. You see, I put it up there. We want you to submit before and after pictures because COVID is still around. We don't know what's going on. We still follow city and state COVID regulations and guidelines, and any of our participants, we have that same expectation of you. As they're updated and they're changed, then we will go ahead and adjust accordingly. But for right now, we're masking and we're sanitizing, we're doing all that good stuff. Let me answer just a few FAQs because you might have these questions. What if I arrive at my lot and it's illegal dumping there? Hey, we love DPW, our sister agency. They hold us down quite often, but your first call for help is 311 to get that catalog in the system. What if we're having a robust growing season, which we know happens in Baltimore? Can we invoice for additional services provided? No. We appreciate you doing the extra cut and stuff like that. We really do, but no, it's only up to 11 maintenance visits and we stay within that framing. I only completed 7 cuts this season. Will you still pay out the rest of my grant funds? No. Bmore Beautiful will only issue payments in accordance to the number of maintenance visits completed. So that's where the invoice comes in play. Are self-abatement notices required for each property? Yes, for each property. And if you are a returning group that wants to participate this year and you have private properties, you got to do it all over again. It's every year. I submitted my invoice, but I didn't include before and after pictures. Will my maintenance, will you honor my invoice? And I didn't include a maintenance log. You see it, it says now, we cannot honor invoices that do not include the documents of service that we don't see where you put in the work. It's an honor system. We steward well over our grants in order for us to continue to provide great services and funding like this. We're tight about it and we want to make sure that it's right. So it's a no. Will the city provide a lawnmower for communities to use? I've never heard it, never seen it. They will not provide a lawnmower. So that's why we said, if you're interested in Carolina, that we want you to demonstrate the capacity that you have the equipment, at best, a lawnmower that'll be able to help you. Because remember, I said at minimum, we do expect a lot to be cut, okay? We have an equipment grant, but it is teeny weeny, eensy, weensy. You get where I'm going with it. It's very small and it's not guaranteed. So at best, you should have those. You should have your lawnmower and stuff like that ready to go. Let me check my time. Oh, I'm going low. Okay, does Bmore Beautiful do spot checks? Yes, we do. And yes, we will. We will come by and see, because one, we're excited about what you're doing and we want to take a look at it. We want to brag on you. And just in case you're trying to be slick, I got 1 minute. We'll just check on you. Just know that. And so here's some Carolites where you see that it just ranges and you see the blue signs for Bmore Beautiful. And did I mention that the application closes on March 1st? And so this just in, you guys are the first to hear it. We will be bringing back our Activate Your Space grant. It's going to be bigger and better this year. Hey, and for those who know, when we did Activate Your Space 2 years ago, the grant was for $5,000. And so this time we're excited because we were able to secure funding to be able to increase the award amount up to $15,000. And that is my timer. And so I just want you to check it out, that here's our friends over at Making Miles. This is their before and after. Look what they were able to accomplish with the Activate Your Space grant. So I can imagine what can be done with what's to come with the up to 15,000. So y'all gonna need to hang out with us. Follow us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, save our website as a favorite. If you have any questions, because I know I talk really, really fast, you can always submit them to bmorebeautiful@baltimorecity.gov. And on behalf of my partner in crime, that's the Natasha Neal. And you heard from Morgan that it is our pleasure to serve as your Bmore Beautiful liaisons. And so I'll stop there.
Woo, thank you so much, Brandy. That was amazing. I know that there's 2 questions in the chat, Brandy. So if you just want to check those out and see if you can answer them.
Yes, ma'am.
So next up, we'll be hearing from Katie Latour, the Executive Director of Baltimore Green Space.
Hi, folks. I'm Katie Lauder. I'm the Executive Director of Baltimore Green Space, and Baltimore Green Space is a land trust for community managed open spaces. We protect community gardens and pocket parks, and we also teach people how to take care of forests. Now, as you know, everyone loves to talk about the vacant lots of Baltimore City. Here they are. You can see them. You just heard tell of them a minute ago. They also love to talk about the food deserts. What they don't talk as much about are the green spaces that everybody is creating in exactly those same zones. And there are actually over 1,000 green spaces created and cared for by community members. We keep a database of over 200 of them. And come on, slideshow. Whoop, I'm frozen. Wow, now I'm going too fast. Okay, so I guess we're stopping here. There are also over 1,000 forests, community forests in Baltimore. So part of what Baltimore Green Space does is we advocate for green spaces And we also help to protect them. So we do land conservation, forest care, and advocacy. And where do we work? Community gardens, pocket parks, community forests. So how do you preserve your site? You can see here some before and after pictures of Brentwood Commons, the green space of Lowell Larson, who is also on this talk. It takes a little while before a place is transformed or a vacant space is transformed to a place. So here are some other places that Baltimore Green Space protects. This is Duncan Street Miracle Garden. Shout out to Dr. Minor Terrell, who works with that space. 500 North Duncan. This is Mount Clair Community Garden. This is Upper Fells, one of the gardens that helped to found Baltimore Green Space, and it's the only unpaved surface in Upper Fells Point. This is Victorine Q. Adams Community Garden, Ash Street Community Garden, Brentwood Commons again in its current form, and Halcott Square, so pocket parks and our forests. So what are the benefits of preservation? There's no more worries about redevelopment. So once a site is protected, it's in the trust forever. Dun, da, da, da. We provide basic liability insurance and technical assistance. So when that bug gets into your garden and you don't know what it is, you can call us up and say, can you call an expert and help us figure out what's in our beans, or, that kind of thing. So how can you preserve your space? You actually have to meet some basic criteria. Your green space has to be 5 years old or more. Did you know there are over 100 green spaces in Baltimore right now that are over 5 years old? So we only protect 16 and we're looking to protect more. If your green space is 5 years old, why 5 years? Like I said, it takes a while for a place to go from a project to a place. You have to have someone who's willing to act as the site manager and the assistant site manager. Most gardens that are successful or green spaces are successful have lots of people who are helping to care for them. And a few of those people have to be willing to be designated as like the main point people. You have to have a community partner. This is so if for some reason the site leaders need to move away, there's somebody local to help us support having the site continue long-term, because Baltimore Green Space doesn't manage green space. We protect the green spaces neighborhoods are already managing. It has to be in true community use. This means you can't have that space that you're keeping for your dog right on the side lot you haven't bought yet, but you can buy that. We can't protect it in the trust, because it has to be used by the neighborhood. It has to also have enough people taking care of it to continue taking care of it into perpetuity. So if there's only 2 of you taking care of it, long-term sustainability is going to be an issue. The soil conditions have to match the use of the site. So in order to actually finally come into the trust, we do test the soil, especially if you're growing food. We test for lead and other heavy metals. So if there's lead, then you can't grow food and that kind of thing, right? Just a safety issue. So we also work with community forests. And on that side of the work, we do a lot of studying and studying green spaces, because as I said, part of our role is to be advocates for green space in Baltimore. And in order to do that, we need to be able to talk about the biodiversity, what neighbors are achieving, those kinds of things, and why they're valued spaces. You all know, if you're taking care of a green space, that it's a precious place in your community, but it also helps to have these data points and information about those green spaces. So let's see. We also know that green spaces are really great for cooling. Forests are the best cooling source of all the green spaces, actually. And we know this because we work with our scientific partners to look at stuff like this. We'll be doing a similar study this summer, looking at heat impacts of various levels of green space a little bit more in depth. You wouldn't know it, but a lot of Baltimore's forests have water sources in them. Everybody thinks you have to drive really far out to the county to be with a forest that has a stream. But if you go to historic Wilson Park, there's a spring-fed stream right in Springfield Woods. And we do a lot of environmental education. So we usually base our environmental education on what the sites who are in our network ask us to do. So if the site is protected and they wanted to learn about pollinators, we'll lead a pollinator workshop. Or if they want to know about invasive species, we'll lead an invasive species workshop. And I'm 7 minutes under time for you. Gonna let you make it up. So that's all I've got to share with you today. I'll leave a couple of minutes, see if there's any questions. No questions in the chat. All right. Who's next?
Thank you so much, Katie. I think there was one question from Tia. Can the green space Adopt-A-Lot be purchased from the steward that maintains the lot/space?
So we have protected spaces that folks raised funds to purchase the space, yes. Or if the space was donated from the private owner, there are 2 spaces like that. Or no, actually 500 North Duncan was donated. Both of our forests were donated properties. And then there were, Upper Fells did end up purchasing a few of their lots. So sometimes fundraising is done to purchase. Yeah. So properties, how to protect playgrounds. I see this in the chat. Oh, and there's a couple other questions. Okay. Can Baltimore Green Space protect properties that have playgrounds? Right now, we have accepted one property that has a swing set. And that's because we looked into the liability of that just particular equipment. I don't think that Baltimore Green Space is going to go in the direction of protecting a ton of playgrounds right now, just because it's a lot different liability considerations. And it would, we're not doing it right at this moment. We don't currently have the insurance to cover all of it. So, Katie, is there any thoughts on accepting spaces younger than 5 years in the future? Okay, so right now, the reason we don't accept sites that are younger than 5 years is we have even kind of tried it for something that was like 4 years and really exciting before. And what we learned is that those sites those sites have a harder time getting a community partner to sign on with them. And so at this time, and a lot of sites fail in year 4. We've seen it over time that it's like, okay, so year 1 and 2, everyone's excited. Everyone's like all invested in the garden. And year 3 and 4 is where people are like, this is a long-term, lifelong commitment. And it starts to drag a little bit. And if folks can make it past that hump, that's, when usually they'll be successful. That's not to say, so that's our position right now. Can Baltimore Green Space, to make sure I heard correctly, yes, some Adopt-A-Lots can be purchased. Oh, Adopt-A-Lots can be transferred to Baltimore Green Space through the land trust preservation process. So that is something that we do regularly. So yes, we can get Adopt-A-Lots into the trust for sure.
Wow. Thank you, Katie. You are a legend in speed and articulation. Thank you. So next up, we'll hear from Abby Cook, an environmental planner from the Baltimore Office of Sustainability.
Hey, everybody. Let me share my screen here. I'm really honored to be with this amazing group of people tonight. I am going to be talking about 2 topics, so I'll be real brief on both of them. Shoot, how do I get this out of the way here? Okay, green schools and urban farms in Baltimore City. These are the 2 areas of policy that I work on. In the Baltimore Office of Sustainability, we are part of the city's Department of Planning. So in both cases, I'm going to give you sort of a big picture overview, dive into specific examples, and talk about resources that are out there. So our office has been involved in supporting schools and going green for over a decade. We give out small grants to city public schools, and as you can see, we've been all over the city, and many of them have been deeply committed and for quite a number of years been working on these small hands-on projects with students. And the little houses with the green leaves are certified Maryland Green Schools, and the number of those has tripled in the past 12 years. And that's a really rigorous program where schools have to incorporate environmental education and outdoor learning and hands-on student practices, professional development for teachers about the environment, partnerships, celebrations into everything that they do. And in 2018, we became part of the National Cities Connecting Children to Nature movement. Baltimore Connecting Children to Nature is a partnership of the Office of Sustainability, Recreation and Parks, Health Department, city schools, National Aquarium, and a number of community-based partners. We've got some big goals that we work on in different ways, but I'm gonna focus on the Green Schoolyards goal. So why is our green schoolyard so important to us? Shoot, is there a way that I can hide this thing? Sorry. Okay, so nature has a ton of proven benefits for academic outcomes. Kids learn better when they are able to spend more time outside. They have better test scores, lower rates of ADHD, higher enthusiasm and engagement with learning, more creativity, more impulse control, and less disruptive behavior. And there's a ton of health and well-being benefits as well. Everything from lower rates of nearsightedness, higher vitamin D levels, higher physical activity, reduced risk of obesity, improved relationship skills, lower levels of cortisol. And I've read a number of these studies. It's really both deep and broad how good it is for all of us, but especially for kids to spend more time outside. And we got, at most of our schools, amazing grounds that can be used for this purpose. So what are schools out there doing? Harlem Park Elementary Middle is one of our Maryland Green schools. They're recertifying this year. They've got a pollinator garden, bird nest boxes, a vegetable garden where they do healthy cooking classes, and a ton of other programming around sustainability at their school. Here at Federal Hill Prep in South Baltimore, you can see their old outdoor classroom in the lower left and the new courtyard space that they created with one of our grants in the last year. Park Heights Academy is one of the schools that's gone really deep on outdoor learning. They worked with the Ravens and Heart of America last year to put in all sorts of infrastructure in their courtyard to get their kids outside. And we worked last year as well with Dickey Hill Elementary Middle in Southwest Baltimore. Enviro Collab, a local landscape architecture firm, volunteered their services to put together a low-cost design for them. Civic Works came out with their Youth Build program and helped build some of the site elements. And then we had a big volunteer day to put it into place. And we've also been able to help provide professional development on outdoor learning for teachers. So what are some of the resources if you are working with a school and you want to help them go green? City Schools has put together a school garden toolkit that, and I'll send links to all of these things I'm referencing to Morgan to share with everybody, but it walks you through how to get started, videos of successful school gardens in Baltimore City, how to design, plant, and harvest, and connect your curriculum to the garden. And they also created a website all about outdoor learning that walks through curricular tools, classroom management, logistics, how to do outdoor lunch, physical tools, and everything else that you might need. The city school system also has its own farm, Great Kids Farm in Catonsville, and they've got 4 farm-to-school educators who will come out, help schools design, build, and maintain schoolyard gardens. They hold summits throughout the year, and they do in-person and virtual field trips. And finally, I want to highlight Camp Small, the city's wood waste yard. This is a program of recreation and parks, and they have started offering to the public site elements that can be used and are being used by schools. So you'll see some seating there of various kinds. They also will bring out logs to create nature play spaces. And the general public can access these resources for the prices in black there, but they've got a discount for city schools, and that's the prices in green. In some cases, it's very significant, up to $100 off what they can provide. All right, so jumping into urban farms, again, the big picture context. We have an urban agriculture plan for the city. Homegrown Baltimore was adopted in 2013. Big interagency and community effort, recommendations around land, water, soil, capital, and agency support. Agriculture is also in our Baltimore Green Network Plan for vacant lot revitalization and the 2019 Baltimore Sustainability Plan. And these are some screenshots of the sustainability plan, but I won't go into detail, just to say we've got a lot of strategies and actions around how we want to support farming in Baltimore City. There's a ton of agriculture going on. Katie alluded to all the community gardens. We estimate that there's around 25 to 30 of what you might call urban farms in the city. And these are sites where people are growing for production, not just for themselves and their families and neighbors, but to grow way more than they themselves could possibly eat, either for sale, free distribution. There's at least one restaurant that has their own farm. And to just give you some examples of what they look like, this is White Lock Community Farm in Reservoir Hill. They've got a plastic covered hoop house that you can't see off to the side there, a little greenhouse, obviously the lovely open fields. And in the back there, the little red structure is an insulated refrigerated space where they put boxes of produce for their CSA or community supported agriculture members to pick up produce every week. The Real Food Farm in Clifton Park, again, mix of hoop houses and open fields. They've also got bees, composting, and they have a converted ice cream truck that they use as a mobile market to take around to different sites in town. There's farming happening on private property as well. So we had a city-owned site on housing lands, a recreation park site, and this is a site where a couple in Northwest Baltimore purchased the vacant lot next to their home and been growing huge amounts of food, selling at the farmers markets, and doing education out of their space. And finally, Plantation Park Heights Urban Garden. Wish I had a better picture to show you all the lovely site elements they have, but they do a lot of education with students, a lot of growing and selling and celebrating. Oh, and Hill and Homestead is a small flower farm in town with 2 sites, and they've got a successful flower farming operation for weddings and other celebrations going on, and we're very proud of them. We lease land to farmers. It's a partnership between the Department of Planning and Department of Housing. We're looking for people with at least a year of experience who can put together a sustainable and financially sound plan and are willing to do the community engagement and get neighbors on board with the site where they want to grow. It's a rolling deadline to apply. We do 5-year leases with an 18-month backout period if not being renewed, and it's a nominal $100 a year fee. We're also looking at new ways of offering land access and a potential request for proposals process for farms in the fall. So what are the resources out there to support urban farming? The Farm Alliance of Baltimore is a membership network for the urban farms, and they just this year are launching the Black Butterfly Urban Farmer Academy starting next month, and they are going to be operating out of a new incubator farm training site in Faring Baybrook Park. So we've been working with the Recreation and Parks Department to support that effort. Future Harvest is a regional program that operates a beginning farmer training program that partners with a number of farms in Baltimore City, both to train through their program and to be training sites for new farmers. And they have a big conference and a number of other resources they do as well. The Black Church Food Security Network is based here in Baltimore. They work with faith-based institutions on growing food, and the Black Yield Institute is a Pan-African food and land sovereignty focused organization that for many years ran their own farm. They're on a hiatus from that now as they had to move, unfortunately, but they are set up with a new site where they're going to be growing again. But they, with the Farm Alliance, put out a really strong report on community control of land. And finally, the University of Maryland Extension Service has an urban agriculture agent, Neith Little. They've put together a guidebook to urban farming, and she will come out and work with people on getting GAP certified. It's good agricultural practices, which you need to sell to a lot of institutions to do business planning and for all sorts of other services. And I have on here a slide on Baltimore Green Space, which is also working on protecting some community-based farms, but you already heard from them, so I don't have to belabor how awesome they are. All right, and that's what I got for you guys. I hope I didn't go too far over my time.
No, you did absolutely perfect. Thank you so much. I know that was a lot to distill down, but that was amazing. Thank you, Abby. Wow. Um, okay, great. So next, we'll hear from the greening coordinator of the Department of Planning's Baltimore Green Network, the amazing Kimberly Knox.
Good morning, everyone. Let me just pull this up. Great to see everyone. So my name is Kim Knox. I'm the greening coordinator for the Baltimore Green Network. And the Baltimore Green Network is a plan that looks at different ideas in terms of working with the community to recreate the vacant lots within the city. Baltimore City has 20,400 vacant lots. As we all know, in the 1950s, our population was, Baltimore population was at 900,000. And now we are at, a little less than 600,000. So there's 20,400 vacant lots, 60% of them are privately owned. We've talked about why we talked about greening and how important it is, but what did the metrics say? Well, studies have shown that when you have a maintained green space in your neighborhood, studies have found a decrease of up to 28% in violent crime, up to 17% increase in the home sale prices, positive mental health benefits, including reduction of stress. And while many communities don't have access to city-managed open space, such as parks, vacant lots can provide an opportunity for green space. And obviously, we talked from Brandy's presentation that maintenance is key, and maintenance of vacant lots can provide opportunities for more jobs in Baltimore. So these are the service requests, a maintenance of vacant lots. This was in the middle of this growing season last year. And all of you know that if you find a vacant lot that isn't being maintained, Randy mentioned the thing you need to do first is call 311. Documentation starts the change. So calling 311 is key. Now, lots of people say, I have wonderful ideas, but I don't have any funding. Well, there is a grant, lots of grants out there, and there's a grant writing workshop tomorrow on Friday, February the 25th from 1 to 2 p.m. You can register here at https://tinyurl.com/greening grants in order to get to register and to get the URL for the great seminar that will be again tomorrow, February the 25th from 1 to 2 p.m. There'll be a basics on how to write a successful grant for your greening project, and there'll also be a panel of funders who can answer questions of what they're looking for, what do they see rises to the top, so some great ideas on how your greening project could get funded. There is also a great newsletter that talks about that you can subscribe to. Will give you not only when grants are open, but also we'll talk about opportunities like that when there's wood chips available, or if there are other resources available, if there's training such as this outstanding workshop that you're in right now, and much more. And you can easily get that great newsletter by hitting this URL in order to subscribe to the Green Network's newsletter. And there's also a framework of different ways of how you can have neighborhoods have recreated vacant lots in Baltimore. So you can see the great work that's being done in Broadway East, in Brea, Boyd Booth, Carrollton Ridge, and many examples of people who are right here on this call. So if you would like a copy of this framework on recreating vacant lots into community amenities, email me at kimberly.knox@baltimorecity.gov. So here are some ideas of what people have been doing. And it can go from very simple in terms of planting a great tree, working with BOPA for funding for a mural, which is also opened up and will be closing on March the 1st. So if you're a nonprofit or a neighborhood association, go to the Baltimore Office of Promotion and Arts, Public Arts page, and they'll give you the information for this grant opportunity that closes on March 1st. Or you can do it in terms of an interactive space. This is in Harlem Park, right next to Harlem Park Elementary and Middle School that Abby talked about. And it has a variety of different art pieces that the community has brought together, including art, including bird houses and plants, always different things going on during all the growing seasons. So this is a great opportunity to also look at in terms of creating a more interactive space. And then there's also community gardens. This is in Sandtown, Winchester, not too far from Mosier and Cary, I believe this is. And what you're looking at is their community garden. Is the green says that you can, if you're a resident in the neighborhood, you can harvest food from those green boxes, and the red are where they're growing vegetables for sale in order to keep the garden going. So it's a great opportunity for people to get fresh produce, and still they're trying to keep the community garden sustainable. This is actually the Harriet Tubman Community Garden. And then this is a picture of Rachel Wilson Memorial Park in Boyd Booth at 145 South Calverton. This was the actual location where the first female firefighter to die in the line of duty in Maryland by the name of Rachel Wilson was mortally injured. And the community came together and created a memorial to her with this mosaic that they did with the park, and as well as with the Wilson family. So they can create memorial lots, you can create community gardens, you can create passive spaces, you can take interactive spaces, anything that you and your neighborhood have envisioned. And we can help you identify resources that will get you to your dream. My name is Kim Knox. Again, I'm the beginning coordinator of the Baltimore Green Network. If you have here's my address and phone number. Love to help you in any way I can. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kim. There was one request in the chat for you to put some of the URLs from your presentation into the chat. So I don't know if you have a moment to do that, but
I'll certainly do that. Thank you so much.
I just wanted to highlight that Kim said to bring all your garden dreams to her. How can you say that? Bring the dreams.
Thanks, Katie.
oh, wow, yay. Well, thank you so much, Kim. Really appreciate you. So next we'll be hearing from the Section Chief of Watershed Planning and Partnerships at the Department of Public Works, Mark Cameron.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for attending. Let me try to get this screen sharing. Too many screens open. All right, y'all see that?
Perfect.
All right, so again, my name's Mark Cameron. I am with the Department of Public Works. I head up the Watershed Planning and Partnership section. We do watershed planning, and we also work in partnership with other city agencies, nonprofits, community groups to help reduce stormwater runoff and create a greener city. And I'm going to talk about one of the programs that we head up, which is called the DPW Growth Center. Anyone who has heard of it or attended it, you can just do a thumbs up in the as a reaction, and we'll move on. So what is the Growth Center? GROW stands for Green Resources and Outreach for Watersheds. And the genesis of the Growth Center was, how can we provide multiple resources and information to help the city achieve a number of its initiatives? So how can we increase waste diversion, reduce polluted runoff, increase tree canopy, reclaim vacant lots? And we know that we have a lot of materials that could be upcycled and made available to help in greening projects. And we also know that there's a lot of well-intentioned and eager residents and nonprofits who need just a little bit of help in training and information. So what the Growth Center does is it brings together two main things: materials and resources, and education and training. So we started officially in 2018. It was piloted in 2016 by the Office of Sustainability, and then the Department of Public Works was able to get a grant from the U.S. Forest Service and begin to take what we learned from the pilot and continue to test out this idea. And I use that word test out because we are still testing out our ideas. We're trying to figure out how can we best serve and help neighborhoods throughout the city. So since 2018, we've held 27 pop-up events, 24 workshops. Over 1,400 people have attended these, representing over 100 neighborhoods. More than 10, probably a dozen or more partner agencies and organizations have been a part of the Growth Center. We've given away 26 truckloads of mulch, over 600 trees, over nearly 50 compost bins. We've also given away reusable bags, chaff, seeds. We've had native plants for sale. And these have gone to people who are doing community-based projects, reclaiming vacant lots, creating community green spaces. But a lot of people are using it for their homes, for their places of worship. And our goal is that we want a greener Baltimore. And we know that sometimes there are issues and access issues for people to be able to get some of this material. So our goal is to be a resource hub and a connector. So we do that primarily in two ways: pop-up events and workshops. So pop-up events are just that. They are, we will show up. It's not like we just show up randomly, but we plan and we work it with community partners. And you can see on the bottom left here, we're in the Broadway East neighborhood. And we will bring together a number of different partners and agencies. We will have free mulch from Camp Small. Abby had mentioned that. We'll have free trees from Tree Baltimore. We have, it's an opportunity for people to come out free of charge and really take advantage of having a lot of different partners and information together in one place. These have been on Saturday mornings, Saturday afternoons. We've held Sunday events, weekday evenings, and we've also partnered with different communities at their events and at shred events by DPW. We also have organized and held workshops. Sometimes these workshops have been at a Growth Center. More often than not, they've been standalone workshops. So as I mentioned, the materials and resources that we provide, free trees, free mulch. We have had in the past native plants for sale. More recently, we've had free compost bins for people attending home composting workshops. We've provided chaff. If you don't know what chaff is, it's a great material for composting. We get it free from Zeke's Coffee. And more recently, we've been providing reusable shopping bags. What we are always doing is looking at what are materials that may be going into the landfill, being considered trash, but could be beneficial to help in gardening and greening in communities. And in the workshops, we've done a number of different topics. We did a number of home composting workshops this past fall. We did a virtual rain garden workshop in the fall that had about 80 attendees. We've done workshops in the past on rain barrels, green space planning, how to adopt a lot, tree planting and care. And we're always looking for new ideas for workshops that would be beneficial to these efforts, and partners and facilitators who can help give those. And one of the things that we really enjoy is to bring together a bunch of people. So we have, what we like to think of as Ask an Expert. It's not necessarily an organization who's there just promoting themselves, but it's knowledgeable people, typically from city agencies, who are in one place to answer questions. And the great thing about a growth center is that you might go and say, hey, I want to get some mulch for my garden. And you can learn what Bmore Beautiful is doing, or the Office of Emergency Management. We've had the Office of Sustainability. DPW have our community liaisons, recycling office, forestry. Actually, everyone who is a presenter on this workshop have attended a growth center, have participated in a growth center, have hosted a growth center. So we like to think that we can only do this, through partnerships. And so finally, how can your community benefit? Number one, visit our growth center webpage. So our website is here. I will also put it in the chat. This will give you a little bit more information about the growth center. You'll get to see more pictures and photos from past events. There is an ongoing report that we add to every season. So if you really want to dig deep into the growth center, you can access that report. We are working on what we're calling a virtual growth center, which is resource pages. So we know that people can't always come out to these in-person events, but if you want to know, how do you get a free tree? Where do you get mulch? How do I do a rain garden? We want to be able to put those resources on that page as well to be a virtual hub. As I mentioned, attend a pop-up or workshop. We are in the planning stage right now, and we're expecting to have primarily in April, probably the very end of March through the very beginning of May, holding about 6 or 7 pop-up events throughout Baltimore and about 6 workshops. So we're busy trying to confirm all of our locations and dates. We should have that by mid-March. So I would suggest go to our website at like the 3rd week of March, and we'll also be getting this information out with our various partners. I know Morgan has been talking with Matt in our office, and they're actively trying to schedule a couple of workshops. Tell your friends and neighbors. We want people out here. We know that word of mouth is the best way of promoting things. And, if you're going to check out a workshop, bring someone along. It's more fun that way. And then finally, if your community is interested in hosting a pop-up or a workshop, contact us. We have our locations almost set for the spring, but we're always looking for additional partners, and we're happy to talk with you about what that would look like. We like to be in a lot of different places in the city. We like to hold these, if possible, at community open spaces, because that's a great way to highlight vacant lot reclamation, and to show these spaces off, because we have people from across, you know, the city who are getting a chance to go to new neighborhoods, and we'd like the opportunity to show that off. Or if you have a workshop, you're interested in leading something, you know, let us know. We're always looking for ideas. And finally, my information is here on this slide. I'll put that in the chat. But also I want to introduce Matt Gordimer. So Matt is on this webinar. He joined us last Monday. He's in AmeriCorps Vista. He'll be with us for a year. He is going to be the Growth Center coordinator. It's been a little bit of a fire hose for him, because he's like, all right, what do I do? Okay, we got to schedule 13 events. Let's go. So, but we're very excited to have Matt, and I'll put his information in the chat as well. You can contact either of us for more information, and we hope to see some of you, if not all of you, at a Growth Center event this spring. So I'm going to stop sharing.
Thank you so much, Mark. Yeah, so there's a couple questions in the chat that maybe you can just go through and answer in the chat. But thank you so much for that awesome presentation. All right. So again, I'm looking forward to the Growth Center pop-ups. They're going to be great. So now we'll hear from the Baltimore City Recreation and Parks Community Liaison, Earl Johnson.
Okay, hey everybody, who wants to go after Mark? I know I don't want to go after Mark, but here we go. He gives such a great presentation. Can everybody hear me okay? Because I'm on these headphones and I don't have internet. I'm using my cell phone, so you won't get my slideshow. Here's a tip for you. Do not get a chip drop at your house. Free mulch from the chip drop, and they took down my Wi-Fi cable, which I'm probably going to have to pay for. This is the second time I've made that silly mistake of having mulch dropped at my house by those guys. But we're going to talk anyway about some of our wonderful programs that we have at BCRP. If you didn't know, we have 94,000 trees, street trees that we take care of. That's a lot of tree pits. We have 28,000 park trees, which is like us a lot. We also are responsible for 262 parks. That's over 4,600 acres of parkland. So we steward a lot of green space. We also have 25 miles of biking and hiking trails and 18 picnic groves. So we have a lot of space. We service just about every corner of Baltimore City, both with small parks and large parks. Parks with playgrounds, parks with athletic fields, parks with tennis courts, dog parks. We just got a brand new dog park at Burdick Park. So we are in the park business and the green space business. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about our Weed Warrior program. Now, if you don't know what a Weed Warrior is, it's a citywide program that was developed to help maintain the health of our urban forest. If you notice any of the ivy or vines growing up trees, those are not good for the trees. They kill the trees. And we have a program where we certify volunteers in communities to be trained to identify these non-native invasive plants and be able to host events where you get your community together, you get your neighbors together, and you help us protect our trees and our biodiversity in our urban forests. Our Weed Warriors program, to be a Weed Warrior, you have to complete a 3-part class. The curriculum includes plant identification, ecosystem and removal methods, and also leadership training. And once you get certified as a Weed Warrior and you complete all the requirements, you receive a little certification card, which allows you to host events on park property. because you can't do that without that certification card. You also get a nice t-shirt. You get curriculum and lots of resources and access to a lot of our tools and even some of our park managers and some of our staff to help you remove some of those invasive species from our parks that you see while you're enjoying our park. So now I would like to talk a little bit about something Abby Cock brought up, which was Camp Small. If you've never been to Camp Small, it's just a jewel. It's a wonderful place. If you drive too fast on 83, you'll miss it. It's tucked away, but it's probably one of the best places I've ever been. I mean, I fall in love with it every time I go there. It's been around for nearly 100 years. It was a place where we took all of our stumps and our downed trees. They call it the stump dump. But in around 2016, things changed. $98,000 in seed money, an innovation loan was given to Rec and Parks, and it just transformed from a place where we dumped trees that are fallen to a place where reutilization was done on a regular basis. So mulch is being made there, boards are being made there, lumber is being made there. Some of the benches that you see in our parks, some of the wood that are being used in construction at our rec centers, that is all coming from Camp Small. And what can you get from Camp Small? Abby had some of the items on her list, but you can get benches for your outdoor classrooms. You can get mulch. You can get stumps. You can get so much from Camp Small. I'm going to put the links in the chat so that you're able to reach the website where Camp Small has a list of items that you can get from them. But it's just a wonderful place, and I hope everyone has a chance to visit Camp Small. It's not that far. I think I have the address here. It's located. I'm sorry, I'm using I got all my information on my Word instead of my slideshow, but I'll put the address in the chat. If you have time to visit the site, that'll be wonderful. The next thing that I wanted to talk about, here's the address. It's located right off of the Jones Fall. Well, that's not the address, but I'll put the address in the chat for sure. The next thing I wanted to talk about was our Friends Groups, which is one of the most important programs that I believe BCRP has when it comes down to our parks. Friends Groups are a community-based volunteer group that are officially affiliated with Baltimore City Rec and Parks. These groups agree to holistically plan and recruit resources to help support us in maintaining our parks. We have a lot of parks. We don't have a lot of park maintenance people. It's a big ask when we ask for community members to come in and help us maintain our parks, but we couldn't do it without our residents. These groups typically have to be a 501c3, but anyone can be a Friends Group. As long as you live in a neighborhood around the park, as long as you care for the park, as long as you're associated with a community group in the park, you can apply to be a Friends Group. And you can help us maintain the park by painting benches. You can help us plant gardens. You can help us plant trees. You can help us with litter pickup. If you know the Friends of Patterson Park, that's the extreme end. They actually have buildings they build. They have regular volunteer days. They build playgrounds. They build sites. And then you can go as small as like the Friends of Radke Park that just do cleanups and just plant trees. So there's so much you can do with a Friends Group. We also provide a Park and Play grant, which I will also put in the chat. The Park and Play grant is up to $5,000. That grant can be used to buy tools, It can be used to do cleanups. You can buy plants. You can create garden beds with it. You could do just about whatever you want with it, as long as you're not building any permanent structures, because that takes a whole nother process that you have to go through. But the $5,000 goes a long way when you want to take care of a park that's in your neighborhood, that you use every day, that you see, that you enjoy, that your kids enjoy. $5,000 can go a long way to help you maintain that park and bring some resources to the park. And also, you can use the money to activate the space, to have movies and reels, have movies in the park. You can have parties in the park. You can have cookouts in the park. We just don't want you cleaning up the park. We also want you to be able to activate that space. And that grant is a great way to activate your park and a great way to help you maintain the park. Now, and if you're interested in being a Friends group, I'm going to put my information in the chat. We are actually taking applications right now for community members to start Friends groups. Tony Savage is also on the call. We are looking to increase our Friends group by 20% this year. We want more Friends group, especially the smaller parks, the parks that don't get a lot of love, the green spaces that, you know, don't have a lot of people using them. We want to activate those spaces. We want to create Friends groups in those spaces. And I'll definitely put that in the chat before I get off tonight. So to recap, we have our We Warrior program, which is designed to help us maintain our urban forests and make sure that we have great biodiversity in our ecosystem. We have Camp Small, which is a wonderful place to go to if you need mulch. It's also part of our zero waste plan, where when trees fall, and our street trees fall during storms, when trees die, instead of that wood being thrown in a dump, we are reusing that wood, and we're also creating jobs. We're also creating wood that was used in construction. We're also selling items and making money off of it. So it's a win-win for everybody. And then we have our Friends groups, which is very, very important. If you love your park, like I do, if you love your community park, Baltimore City can't do it by ourselves. If you want to pitch in, join your Friends group or create a Friends group. And I'll put my information in the chat, and you'll be able to reach out to me if you want to create a Friends group. I'm sorry I didn't have my slides, but that is all I have for you. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you so much, Earl. Right on time. Thank you. And if you want to send me your slides, I can send them out to everybody afterwards.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you for that great talk. So next we'll hear from the president of New Broadway East Community Association, Dr. Doris Miner-Terrell. Yay.
Hi, everybody. I'm Doris Miner-Terrell. I knew that I could not keep up with these professionals in the greening business. So I just want to talk to you from a community perspective and how important I think it is for greening to be a major focus in communities. I want to tie the relationship between greening and violence. If you look at our maps that talk about violence, you will also find out that we're missing greening in those areas. So if we want to remove some or reduce the violence, we need to step up our game on greening. As we look at greening, look at the trees. In Broadway East, we have only a 9% tree canopy. Our violence is up like it is in any other area that is at least in the 34% poverty cycle. So when I look at my friends here who help us to green, it's important for us to know the relationship between that violence and the green. When we look at those police districts, if you ride around in your car, there are no trees. Trees are important to reducing violence. There's a major impact on the brain. Increase in heat index in these areas challenge the brain. The brain is impacted each day as it struggles to survive under the pressures of heat. How do we reduce that? You've got to increase the greening. When we look at people's struggles through breathing, just breathing, these upper respiratory diseases can be tied directly to what we do in greening. Where are we going to get the oxygen from? We cannot pump it in. We need trees to do that. So the utmost respect goes to people who are involved in this business and understand how important greening is to change what we're dealing with today when we look at violence. We very seldom hear our leadership talk about how greening impacts this violence. So we got to get that message out so that people who are in this field and try to make a difference are respected in their job cycle of bringing a different kind of voice to the table as we look at the environmental factors and in fact that actually affect us daily. If I want to worry about blood pressure, I also need to think about what is happening in that body cycle. Breathing starts the cycle. So if we want to do something about our health factors and violence, my plug today is support greening, support the increase of greening, put the money into the greening process. In struggling communities, we need to better educate them on how greening affects them in their daily life. Katie is a strong advocate in the greening process. Kim is a strong advocate in the greening process. Morgan is a strong advocate in the greening process. So we need funding placed into this cycle so we can reduce the violence, tie the strings between our people and the environment. Dumping, toxic waste, all impacted by the lack of greening. If we increase it, we would have less of the violence, also less in the dumping cycle. So now I've given my 3 minutes, I hope, of my 10-minute cycle. I've enjoyed being here with you, but I'm open for questions. Miss Morgan, I'm giving you back your time.
Thank you so much. That was awesome, Dr. Minor-Terrell. If anybody has any questions for Dr. Minor-Terrell, feel free to shoot them now since we have a little extra time.
Be interested in learning about the tree nursery. That's such a great project.
Oh, that must be Miss Kim. The tree nursery on Montfort Avenue. We're trying to put in place a tree nursery there because again, when we look around, we don't have any greening and we must do that. So our tree nursery in partnership with the 6th branch veterans is part of how we wish to change the impact of the toxic environment on the Broadway East area.
Hey, Kim, there's actually a question in the chat about the grant writing workshop looking like it's sold out and if there's a way to register or to change the registration.
Sure. I will check that out, and if they can send it to me, I can get you on that registration. Thanks so much.
I have a question. Could you tell me some about your greening plan in the whole neighborhood, and the work that you've been doing around that?
Oh, these are all the people who are cheating because they know me. So we developed a greening plan for Broadway East as we try to capture the 800 lots that we're struggling with. So when we put the greening plan together, we've had partners at the table to try to weave this into a sensible pattern of greening that will change what we call the disparities in the health factors. We also are looking at how do we give our returning citizens an opportunity to participate in the workforce development piece. So if we use the Duncan Street Miracle Garden to put in a gazebo, and we're planning on a play space, and we used our returning citizens to change that lot. So if you come by, that's the 2100 block of North Avenue. If you look at the gazebo, it was put in place by returning citizens. Now, Miss Katie knows that, so she's plugging me to give those things, talk about.
Well, because I find it so inspiring, actually. Yeah.
And speaking of inspiring, you mentioned your reentry citizens program called the Freshwater Initiative. Can you?
Yeah, those are the people who know me again. I didn't talk about those things. So we have a group of returning citizens called Freshwater. These are all males who are returning from the criminal justice system. So we try to plug them in to participate in the process of Mother Earth again, planting trees, having a sense of wellness as they are reintroduced into the community, and getting them on board with trying to get jobs in the landscaping business. So we also work with Alex Smith of Division Street Landscapers, who utilize their services for digging, planting, and maintenance.
Awesome. Thank you. Anybody else?
There are people who want your contact information in the chat.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll put it in the chat. Thank you.
Yay. Thank you so much, Dr. Minor-Terrell. You are an absolute powerhouse of amazing greening projects. So thank you so much for sharing. And so last but not least, we have the amazing Teresa Stevens on the call, who is going to be sharing with us a little bit about the Adopt a Lot program.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Morgan. Thank you, Morgan, for pulling this together. I have enjoyed myself, and I was hopeful that I wouldn't be last because it's so hard going after these great folks. I'm going to talk about the Baltimore City Adopt a Lot program. All right. So my name is Teresa Stevens, and I work for the Department of Housing and Community Development in the Development Division. Our team, the Neighborhood Development Outreach Team, manages the sale of city-owned properties, as well as the Adopt a Lot program. So the Adopt a Lot program is an opportunity for residents, business owners in the neighborhood to care for and utilize vacant lots in the neighborhood without the burden of paying taxes or handling different requirements for landowners. Persons that can participate in the Adopt a Lot program include Baltimore City residents, nonprofit organizations in Baltimore City, school groups, etc. And we really are trying to get folks from the neighborhoods in which those lots are to be the maintenance and the caretakers for the lots that are available. So things that are permitted on Adopt a Lots: community gardens, clean and green space, and recreational space. And recreational space, just to add a little bit of context on that, includes things similar to what I've included in the photograph: horseshoe pits, chess tables, activity of that nature. It is not specific for playgrounds, etc., for Adopt a Lots. But if you are thinking about doing something like that, we can still work with you on other opportunities. With some of the Adopt a Lot applications, they may require a site plan and design. But before you go to any expense of doing that, we encourage you to work with our neighborhood development officers and the community in which that property sits to work on something that will make sense for that area that's maintainable. Things that are not allowed on Adopt a Lots: parking, car washes, popular this year, dog parks, playgrounds, and for-profit businesses. These are not opportunities that can be, or activities that can be done on city-owned land used through the Adopt a Lot program. However, because our team also deals with sales of city-owned property, if you are interested in creating something similar to these different uses, please feel free to reach out to our development division so that we can explore those options. What is the cost? It is absolutely free to adopt a lot that is city-owned in Baltimore. You will need to go online and complete an online application. work with the neighborhood development officer responsible for the area in which the lot is located. And during that, for the full process, we average about 30 to 45 days, but 60 days is definitely the max that it would take to go from the application to actually receiving your license. Where are the lots? Now, this is where it gets exciting because we have an announcement that we're sharing. On February the 14th, we launched a new site that will allow you to search a map and show you where those lots are and the lots that are available. One thing I like to make certain to include in this presentation is all city-owned lots are not always eligible for the Adopt a Lot program. So this new map and this way of applying online will allow you to search, see where the properties are located, and see if the properties are available for Adopt a Lot. Our new interactive site, this is actually a little clip of what it will look like. Will allow you to select Adopt a Lot under the Programs tab, search for the lots that are eligible for either Adopt a Lot or water access. Put those in your cart. It's almost like Redfin a little bit, and then select Apply. When you get to the application, the things that you will see is that we want to know who's applying. Is this an individual? Is this a group? Is this an organization? And where are you located? We'd like to know a little bit more about what your plans are for your project and a contact information so that as we move forward with this application, we have a lead that is going to be our point of contact through the process. On the website, not only are you able to search the different sites, but if you are looking to have water for your project, you can now pay online. I know that there are some Adopt a Lot license holders on this call. This is a big, big win for us, and this allows us to shorten the window of getting that order into DPW so that we can get water to the location. There is a $120 fee. That fee will cover you through the growing season, which we consider the end of February, so March 1st or so through November 1st. So February 14th, important dates that I like to put out. We actually open the applications for our online applications. The first week of October is the week that we actually begin to start winding down. So it is the last week to submit your applications for water. And then the first week of November, the Adopt a Lot applications as well as the water applications are closed. We do have, there is always an opportunity if you are in true need of water that we can work on some type of arrangement. But we're doing this to try to keep, one, the cost down, and two, to make certain that we can put everyone on a schedule that will allow us to get those things hooked up as soon as possible for the growing season. I wanted to include some resources. I'm not only a city employee, but I'm also a gardener at an Adopt a Lot site in West Baltimore. And I know that it's work, just like renovating a house. So for folks that may not want to go through the adoption process, Baltimore City Farm Program does have openings. I actually checked yesterday, and they still have some spaces available. So in different neighborhoods throughout Baltimore City. What I learned from them was those 11 city farms that they have actually include 800 garden beds. So that's a lot of space that's available in the neighborhoods that are listed there. Additionally, what I do want to add is if you are considering submitting an application to Adopt a Lot and you live in the neighborhood, it's really key to reach out to the community association and talk to them about your plans and get some type of information from the community, because there's a lot of visioning that's going on. And we want to make certain that there's a synergy and a partnership within the neighborhood that you plan to adopt a lot. Lastly, I just wanted to give a shout out to the tool bank. Adopt a Lot is something that we don't want you to spend a lot of funding or spend your money on. This is a really good resource to help you as you get your lots together for a beautiful design and or community garden or horseshoe pitch, etc. Lastly, this has been really, really cool to be a part of this group of such cool experts and just fun folks. I wanted to include the names of our neighborhood development officers. So if you're looking in neighborhoods like Broadway East, if you're looking in neighborhoods like Harlem Park, if you're considering areas Coldstream, Homestead, Montebello, there's a neighborhood development officer who can be your resource and your information and your assistant as you go through this process. And I encourage you to reach out to one of the neighborhood development officers if you should need some help. So that is my time, and I'm excited to, hopefully I was quick, but this has been really fun. And if there are any questions, I'm going to be available.
Yay, thank you so much, Teresa. And a big thank you to all of our amazing speakers this evening. So we'll have time for a brief question and answer session. I know there's a couple questions in the chat that I'm not sure got answered, so I'll just read through these now, and if our speakers already did answer them, feel free to let me know. So for Earl, Aaron asked, when is the next Weed Warrior training / when is registration, and is it free?
It is free. My email is in the chat. Please send me an email. I will get in touch with forestry and figure out if they're still doing it online or if they're going to do it in person this year. And I'll get you that information.
Cool, thank you. And then I think there's one more question for you. Chris is asking, what can be done about recreation centers that are owned by BCRP but are vacant and not maintained?
That is absolutely a good question. They should be being maintained, at least on the outside. If they are not, my email is in the chat. Please send me an email and we will get on top of that. And we also have a volunteer program. I'm also the volunteer coordinator, one of 3 jobs with BCRP. And there's definitely some stuff that we can do. Send me an email.
Awesome. And then there's one question for Dr. Minor Terrell. Sorry, I didn't write down who asked this, but they asked, one problem I see with greening much of the city is that buildings come right out to the sidewalk, which goes right to the street. Where do we put the green? What are other cities doing about this?
I would suggest that we look at pavers. We need to start using more pavers rather than a continuous stream of concrete. So that concrete, if that's the question, if I'm understanding the question, removing concrete and putting in pavers would be a better idea in terms of planting trees. My understanding is that the Stadium Authority, if correct me, Kim, if I'm wrong, when we put in new cement, we're now supposed to be leaving pits open for planting. Is that correct?
With the new specifications will require that there'll be tree pits in the, yes, exactly.
So is that the question, Morgan?
Yes, I believe you answered it. Thank you. I see, Teresa, there's one question for you in the chat. Is there a link to the payment for the $120 water access program? We submitted an application in January, but there was not an online payment option yet. And that's coming from Chris in the chat.
Yes, Chris, I'm gonna put my email in the chat. I was typing a response to you. The application actually opened on February the 14th. And when you go into that link, you would put the address of the property that needs water and then select water access is what you need. At that point, when you complete the application, it will prompt you to pay the $120, and then we will move from there. But I will look for an application that may, if you were able to submit it in January, just to double check, but it would not have opened until the 14th. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Teresa. I see that there's a question about rodents in the chat. I feel like maybe this is something we can all field together. I don't know if anyone feels called to answer, but how do you manage the potential for rodents or other animals in the garden?
Hey, this is Abby. This is an issue that we looked into some years ago in relation to urban farms. We did a survey anonymously of farms and gardens about, if they were having any rodent issues. And we also talked to a researcher at Hopkins who studies rodent populations. And what we found is the best thing you can do is, one, harvest your produce in a timely manner. If it falls on the ground and is rotting, then that'll cause a problem. Two, keep the area maintained in terms of trash and high grass. Rodents, much like people, prefer fatty, unhealthy foods to healthy, fresh produce. So they're going to be more drawn to chips and trash than produce. And if you have a well-maintained space, they don't have as many places to hide. And you also be able to see if there are rodent holes, and you can call the city's rat rub out program or just fill in the holes yourself. Having people there regularly is important. They don't like people tramping over the spaces where they are, and that'll help drive them out in and of itself. And where gardens and farms were having any rodent problems was almost always in their compost piles. So if you keep a compost pile, which we do certainly recommend people do, it's a great way to recycle scraps and create healthy new soil. You need to take some steps to either manage it in such a way that it stays hot. And that's something the University of Maryland Extension experts can help you figure out, but it's about balancing the types of materials, keeping the pile aerated and turning it frequently, and then the aerobic activity of the bacteria breaking stuff down will actually make the material hot enough that things can't easily live in it. And the other option is to just keep it well enclosed. And so we worked with some farms and gardens to create infrastructure for composting where there was a concrete pad and compost bins that were lifted up off the ground and had a thick wire mesh all around them. You may not need to go to that level of extreme protection if you don't have a big rodent problem in your area, but if you do, then you need to get real serious about the type of composting that you do. That's my take on it, but I'd love to hear from other folks.
That was a really comprehensive answer. Thank you so much, Abby. I learned a lot even just from that. Thank you. Any more questions? Emma?
Hello. Can everybody hear me? Hi, I'm Emma. Really happy to be here because the more I've been going into the world of planting and gardening and landscaping, I just meet more incredible people and see how vast we have potential for actually getting a lot of amazing projects accomplished in our time and space. And so I'm just really excited. So thank you all. But I wanted to ask, well, it's kind of I guess I'm just going to pose a question that I'm personally working on answering or finding an answer for, which is the need for plants. Are all of these, all of our projects and our grants and our different ideas and our gardens and all the, our own personal gardens, we share one unanimous need for more organic carbon sequestering plant material. And so I've been interacting as a landscape professional with the horticultural industry and the nursery industry a lot. And that during the last couple of years has been an interesting time. And so I'm just trying to kind of like open up some questions of how we can find more sustainable ways to grow and propagate plants, whether it's in the existing nursery industry or to supplement the plant supply or trade, really, because plants are just always growing unless they're dying or, not properly sited. So nature, we can work with nature to keep growing more plants all the time. So how do we kind of like, for lack of a better term, capitalize on that so we can have more abundant you know, sharing of this plant material, which we all need, which needs to, you know, is only going to increase. Yeah, so kind of a broad question, but I don't know if anybody is also thinking about that. I just, you know, things like sharing seeds, seed banks, and then having local, basically like a local community nursery. That could be some kind of like, you know, like we have a volunteer residence or some other kind of public space that could be used for just propagating like at least like, you know, 3 different native trees or some type, everybody's favorite perennial or something. So, and then kind of sharing that. I think there could also be a lot of answers in the direction of technology and how we're connecting these days. We do want to, I want to really be resourceful and, you know, be able to use technology and the internet to kind of like make these things easier. So I was also thinking about designing an app or using some kind of like online networking thing to trade plants. So I guess I'll keep working on it, and yeah, plants are the best. That's all.
If I could just, there's 2 things, and then Mark had his hand up. Our community garden, which is located in the Lafayette Square Community Association off of Mosier and Cary, they every year harvest their seeds and use them to replant and share them. There's also, in terms of master gardeners and other gardening groups within the DMV, especially in Maryland, they have a seed swap where people can swap seeds. And I know that the Chesapeake Landscape and Industry Association has been talking about this, especially with the urban tree grant. So people are asking that same question, but I see Katie, Earl, and Mark all have their hand
up. Mark was first.
Sure, just a minute. So I think, Emma, you had asked that question in the chat as it relates to maybe Growth Center. So a couple of things. In 2018, Parks and People Foundation did a plant and seed swap in the fall, and we were one of a number of partners who participated in that. It is a great idea, and that is something that if you're interested in talking more about that, contact me or Matt, because that's come up with other people of like, how do we make that available? So we'd be happy to talk more about that. And yeah, maybe. Oh, and then I think the second thing, and I'm not remembering fully, but we had initially Herring Run Nursery. So if you're not familiar with Herring Run Nursery, they are a great resource for native plants. They're a program of Blue Water Baltimore. They attended the first year and a half a Growth Center, and they sold plants there. I think what they found was they weren't getting the volume to make it worthwhile, so they didn't do it again. But then we partnered with, and this is where I'm blanking out, Victor something. Anyways, he had his own small kind of nursery plant business, and he participated in the Growth Center up until 2020 when we had to take a hiatus. And you know, his plants were a little bit cheaper than Herring Run Nursery, but I think he's an example where there are some people in town who are, you know, propagating plants for sale, you know, whether they're cut flowers. I think someone, maybe Abby or someone showed, is it Hill and Homestead, but also, you know, plants for sale. So I think that that's a great idea. And I'm not sure how you necessarily do that, but if you're going to have an operation like that, you know, there are opportunities with this larger partner network to be able to help support that. So that's it.
And I think that people want to interact in that way, which is, I like that you ended on that, because I think this is going to be a way that everybody gets something out of it, and it also accomplishes conservation to do more community stuff. Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Love all these connections and brewing of ideas that are happening in this space. It's really exciting. Does anybody else have any questions? Oh, Katie.
Yeah, and Errol has his hand up too. Errol, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say that I'm part of a seed swap here in Frankfurt. I think Mia Bloom has one in Hamilton Hills. If you get on Nextdoor, I know a lot of people don't like Nextdoor, but I love it. There are plenty of plant groups that do seed swaps that are neighborhood specific. They do plant swaps. There are already groups that do this. I know I grow a lot of plants for swapping as well for free. You got my email. I'll shoot you. You have my city email, but this isn't me talking as a city. But you can still shoot me an email, and I could definitely connect you with a lot of people who are seed swapping and plant swapping.
So I just put a link to an event that's this Sunday. That's a swap. It's the Eventbrite link that just was in, and it's free to register. And the other thing I was going to say, I don't think anybody lifted up Blue Light Junction yet. And they are a organization that does seed swaps and trainings of like how to do dye gardens. And they've been providing seeds to actually a lot of local farms like Bliss Meadows and Park Heights Plantation. And so they're also someone to stay really connected to. And I'll put their link in the chat as well.
That's so awesome. I know there's also a seed swap at the Free Farm this Sunday. So yeah, lots of swapping of seeds happening, prepping for the springtime.
That's one of the spaces we protect.
And there you go, full circle. So cool. Sorry if I can't see if anyone else has their hand up. If you have a question, just feel free to speak. Oh, seed swap this Sunday. That is at Baltimore Free Farm. I'll get the information for that. What's the address?
There's another one at this other place. So what is the address? Hold on. It's on Ash Street. I know that.
Yeah, it's on Ash Street. It's not letting me like minimize my screen while I'm recording.
It's okay. I got it. Hold on. Anyway, there's one that's not at Ash Street that I put the link for, but there is one at the Baltimore Free Farm at Ash Street Community Garden, 3509 Ash Street.
Yeah, I believe it's like early. It's like 12 o'clock. Here, I'm just pulling it up.
12 o'clock.
That's early for me. I don't know. Let's see the time.
That's how you know you're old, when you don't think 12 o'clock is early.
It's 10 a.m. It's 10 a.m. See, that's a little bit early. 10 a.m. to 12 at the Free Farm this Sunday. Be great to see you there. Cool. Well, since we are past our time and I don't want to keep y'all here all night, although I could, y'all are great. I just want to thank you all for coming out tonight. And if you have additional questions that come up, later down the line, I'll be sending out contact information for all of our speakers in my follow-up email, as well as distilling the chat down. I'll have all the links that are in the chat. If you missed anything, that'll be sent out, as well as the presentations that each speaker gave and the recording. So please remember to come out tomorrow for the virtual grant writing for green projects in Baltimore workshop from 1 to 2. And, email Kim, whatever's going on with the registration link. I'm sure it'll work out. And Bmore Beautiful is also having another workshop coming up on March 10th about urban greening and mental health. So I'll be sending out information for both these upcoming events in my follow-up email. And yeah, I hope to see you there. And thank you everybody so much for coming out. Thank you for our speakers for just getting through it and giving us so much information. And thank you for our participants for being so engaged and asking wonderful questions, and for all the projects that you all are doing out there. It's very exciting. Thank you all. Good night.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you, Morgan. A ton.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night to Mark Cameron's cat.
Yes, night, Kitty.
Good night, everybody.
Good job, Morgan.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh, bye, y'all.